The story of the 1991 Washington quarter begins many decades before the coin itself was minted because its origins are tied to the long and significant history of the Washington Quarter series that first appeared in 1932. The Washington Quarter was originally introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and it replaced the standing Liberty Quarter that had been minted since 1916. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the new quarter quickly became a permanent part of American coinage rather than a one-year commemorative issue, and by the time the year 1991 arrived, the Washington Quarter had already been in production for nearly 60 years. The 1991 edition of the coin reflects a period of transition for U.S. coinage, as well as a moment of stability within the long-running series. To understand the 1991 quarter more deeply, it is important to explore the context of the early 90s in the U.S. Mint. During this time, U.S. circulating coins were continuing the trends that began in the mid-60s, when silver was removed from most denominations. Since 1965, the Washington Quarter had been made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, and the 1991 quarter followed that same structure consisting of layers of copper and nickel bonded together to produce a durable metallic surface resistant to wear from circulation. In the early 90s, millions of Americans used these quarters daily in payphones, vending machines, arcades, and everyday purchases. The 1991 quarter therefore served not just as a collector's piece, but also a functional piece of everyday American life. Design-wise, the 1991 Washington quarter continued the traditional appearance that had remained mostly unchanged for decades. The obverse side featured the left-facing bust of George Washington, modeled after Jean-Antoine Houdon's famous sculpture. Above Washington appeared the word "Liberty," and the motto, "In God We Trust," was placed to the left of Washington's portrait. The date 1991 appeared at the bottom of the coin. The reverse side featured the heraldic eagle with spread wings clutching a bundle of arrows symbolizing readiness for defense, and beneath the eagle lay two olive branches symbolizing peace. Above the eagle was the inscription, "United States of America," and below it was the denomination quarter dollar. Around this time there had not yet been any major changes to the reverse design, which would later be replaced by the 50-state quarters program beginning in 1999. This means that the 1991 quarter represents the final era of the original eagle reverse that collectors today look back on with nostalgia. 3 mints were involved in producing quarters during this era. The Philadelphia Mint produced coins without a mint mark, the Denver Mint used the D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint struck proof coins with the S mint mark. The Philadelphia and Denver struck hundreds of millions of business strike quarters that went directly into circulation across the United States. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Mint produced both standard-clad proof quarters and silver proof quarters for collectors, although the silver versions were not intended for circulation. Each type of 1991 quarter has its own role in the broader picture of American numismatics. The business strike coins from Philadelphia and Denver were made for everyday use, while the San Francisco proof coins were struck using polished dies and specially prepared planchets, creating deep mirror surfaces and high-contrast designs treasured by collectors. Economically, the early 90s were a time of shifting markets, rising modern coin collecting interest, and a renewed fascination with circulating U.S. coinage. This was several years before the onset of the State Quarters program, which would explode public interest in coin collecting. The 1991 quarter was part of a steady but relatively quiet period in American coins, when collectors focused more on building year sets and mint sets, rather than chasing new designs. The U.S. Mint during these years placed great emphasis on precision and quality, as the demand for coins remained high due to heavy public use. These quarters traveled across the country and around the world, carried by soldiers, tourists, and American travelers. Many found their way into vending machines, while others sat in drawers, jars, and cash registers. Because of their heavy circulation, many 1991 quarters show significant wear today, making well-preserved examples more valued by collectors. Another fascinating aspect of the 1991 Washington quarter involves its place within the broader movement of modern minting technology. During this period, the mint was improving die-making techniques, experimenting with sharper details and more refined strike quality. This means certain 1991 quarters can exhibit noticeably better strike characteristics than earlier years, although variations always occurred depending on die life and production conditions. Collectors sometimes study small details, such as the sharpness of the eagle's feathers, Washington's hair, and the crispness of the lettering to evaluate the quality of individual coins. The 1991 quarter also stands as a symbolic marker of the calm before major changes. Within a decade, the Washington quarter would transform dramatically with the launch of commemorative designs and the retirement of the classic eagle reverse. But in 1991, none of these major innovations had begun. The quarter remained rooted in its long-standing traditions, unchanged, predictable, and familiar. For many Americans, this design represented stability. It was the same design generations had carried in their pockets, used in parking meters, and deposited into savings jars. The 1991 year, therefore, stands as one of the final chapters in the uninterrupted era of the classic Washington quarter before it entered a new era of national programs and artistic redesigns. When discussing a 2-hour historical narrative, it is also essential to explore the cultural and historical significance of George Washington in U.S. coinage. The Washington quarter helped reinforce America's collective memory of its first president and contributed to national identity. Children often saw the quarter as their first introduction to Washington's image. Schools used these coins in lessons to teach about presidents and American history. The 1991 quarter kept that tradition alive, connecting new generations to the legacy of the founding era. Collectors today view the 1991 Washington quarter as an affordable yet intriguing piece of modern numismatics. Circulated examples are common, but high-grade uncirculated examples, especially from original mint sets and pristine proof. Examples from San Francisco can carry collector interest. Certain varieties, minor die scratches strike doubling or die polish lines appear in some 1991 quarters, providing additional depth for specialists who enjoy searching through rolls and bags for unique examples. Though not rare, the 1991 quarter remains a historically meaningful coin because it belongs to the closing period of a design that had been in continuous production for nearly 70 years, a design linked deeply to American monetary heritage. Looking back, the 1991 Washington quarter tells a story of continuity craftsmanship, national symbolism, and everyday American life. It marks a moment in the evolution of U.S. coinage where tradition remained strong, yet change was drawing near. This coin circulated during a decade of economic adjustment, technological advancement, and cultural transformation in the United States.